Hi all, this is Tausif, a self-taught texture artist. So usually I enjoy creating hand-painted artworks in Blender like this one. It is completely hand-painted in Blender and this one too. So this is what I'm trying to get good at. So this is another one of mine. I did it at a collaboration with CG Rock. I have been meaning to share my workflows with you, but I could hardly get any break due to academical stuff. So after a long time, this is my first try. Today I am going to break down this simple project I did based on one of Pixel Chan's illustration. Actually it is a 2D painting. It is very favorite of mine. So let's get started. Unfortunately, I have forgotten to turn on my recording from the very beginning, but nothing much has happened yet. I just created some low poly watermelon pieces and turned on the auto smooth at 30 degrees. I am adjusting the shape by pulling and pushing the vertices or faces. I am trying to match our reference as much as possible with the lowest poly count. Also, you can adjust your shapes in the sculpting mode from time to time if you feel like it. That feels very convenient to me. And that is our reference in one window. And I split our screen so that we can see how our project is progressing over time from a still frame. So I guess our composition is ready. Now I'm applying the same material for all of those meshes. Since it is going to be a hand painting project, I try to use as little texture as possible for multiple objects. For example, I am going to put all those meshes in the same texture maps. I prefer to adjust my UV maps manually so that I can decide on convenient themes. The texture painting process, they will act as nice mask. So here we are. I am a bit concerned about textile densities. The parts that are not receiving much visibility in the scene have lower textile densities, while the parts that are more visible will get higher textile densities. I also gave them a plate. Doesn't look good when I keep them at floating state. And that car pH 2 for the plate. I applied a subdivision modifier to the plate as well. So I am going to add the plate as well in the texture map. In Blender you can select multiple objects and enter edit mode at the same time to lay out their UV maps in a single map. So I blocked out the primary colors. I just sampled those colors from Pixel Chan's painting. Since our today's agenda is practicing some brushworks in Blender, I am not concerned at all about composition or stuff like colors, etc. I just want to try something new. In all my previous projects, I have been using the default round brush. I mean, for every single projects, I did use nothing but the default round brush. So I thought it is time to venture a little bit more. So I keep sampling those colors from the original painting and blocking out those colors in our mesh. And please don't mindlessly copy colors. At least try to understand what is going on. What is the relationship of colors here? You can notice so many things in the original painting, like the relationship of light and shadows. It maintains almost a consistent relationship of warm light and cool shadows. For example, the watermelon pieces are getting hit by warm light from the left side, and we see those cooler colors in the shadow area. For example, this red turns almost violet or pinkish in the shadow area, but again the shadow region is not completely cool in hues. In fact, some light is seeping into the shadow area because of surface scattering in the watermelon piece, so some warm red is also seeping in. This is a beautiful thing going on here. So for those parts that are hardly visible in the original painting, I am trying to use my imagination. I mean, that part is not so hard. We all know what a watermelon looks like. So I am just painting according to my memories about watermelon. So our color blockouts are ready for those two major pieces. Now I am moving on to the smallest piece. So I think somebody at the smallest piece, probably Peter Chandit. Wish I could get a bite as well. So I am still sampling colors shamelessly. I mean, is this bad to steal colors from a ready painting? I guess not. I mean, my target here is demonstrating brushworks, and another thing is I am not doing a color study at all. I am just trying to recreate a beautiful painting in 3D. So why shouldn't I sample those colors from the painting? But yes, you need to learn to use your own colors as well, since we cannot depend on others' work all the time. That is why color study is also important in 2D hand painting or 3D texture painting. In fact, designing your own color is very challenging. It is a challenge you should face, but that is for another day. So all those watermelon pieces are almost ready. And I noticed some light is also hitting the bottom part of the biggest watermelon. So I painted those warm green. Now I'm giving some attention to the plate as well, and notice the shadow area. Those shadows are not completely dark yellows. There is so many things going on. They are getting some reflection from the watermelon pieces. For example, the smallest one is reflecting some red or pinkish hue in the shadows. Also, the biggest watermelon piece was reflecting some green in the shadow areas. Now I am getting into the part where we try out some custom brushes inside Blender. I will try to get a painterly traditional look in Blender. So right now I am directly sampling colors from our 3D models and readjusting those edges. Controlling your edges in a painting can be a challenging job to do, but that is not our main focus again. So for the rest of the time lapse, I am just doing the same things. I am revisiting the places we have painted before and creating some brush marks here and there, trying to get some painterly look. Blender has advanced so much over those years, but I kind of feel that the texture painting is a bit lagging compared to other features of Blender. I mean, we can't still paint in layers or apply some texture maps in our brush setup so that we can get some visual effect easily. In fact, I don't have much expectation from Blender's default brush setup because I always use the default round brush to get some graphical or unique look in my hand painting project. But we do need custom brushes in certain situations. It is important to get all sorts of brushes in your painting to save time and stuff. Depending on the situation, I mean, if our target is creating a painterly artworks, only the round brush won't help you much. So yeah, we do think that the texture painting mode could use some improvement in Blender, but for now it is okay. So it might get a bit hard if you are planning on to use Blender's texture painting as your sole medium like me. But yeah, I understand it is not Blender's job to do all sorts of work. I mean, Blenders can already handle all type of tasks, so it would be overkill if I demand more than that. It's already awesome that I can do this sort of hand painting jobs done in Blender. So yeah, no more complaint. Let's just enjoy as much as we can from Blender. So I'm adjusting the shadow area a bit more, trying to match the reference as much as possible. Also, I put some seeds here and there because we hardly see watermelons without seeds. In fact, those seeds drive me crazy when I try to enjoy a watermelon. So now I am finishing up the shadow. Just like the original painting, I am putting some warm red and green in the shadow regions. They are actually reflected from the watermelons, probably. I am putting a little highlights in the corners and some prominent brush marks here and there. Actually, this part is not hard at all. You just readjust your edges with some custom brushes. Here are some big brush marks. Yeah, I'm done with the shadows. Also a few colors for the bottom part. I didn't put any details at all. And I'm taking care of some seams by placing a bit of highlight or catch light. And don't forget to add some ambient occlusion under your objects. It makes things more realistic. I also throw some big brush marks here and there so that they look prominent and as if it was hand painted with brushes. I am using a 2K texture map for all those objects, so the texel density is not that high since a 2K map was divided into these 4 objects. Later on I will try to test Blender's limit and paint in 8K texture maps. That was a crazy thing to do, but I did manage to test how well Blender can handle high resolution texture painting. I was actually astonished since I could do that without any form of laggings in my viewport. Though that came from my brush setting I mean, if you turn off your brush sensitivity, and you can get a faster viewport since Blender is doing lesser calculation in that way. So if you need some performance boost in your texture painting, you might need to consider turning off your sensitivity. Like me, I hardly used brush sensitivity for brush strength. I feel like I'm almost done with this project. It was a short and fun project where I didn't have to handle those colors. In one of my earlier projects, I spent 20 days because I was trying to get all the colors right according to their respective materials. I mean, in our paintings, those materials should be easily recognizable. Metals and plastic cannot be same. This is why it takes a lot of practice. So I'm done with this project. Here it is in Sketchfab viewer. Welcome to the bonus part now, where I will show you some brush settings or how I created my brushes. Also, there will be a fun challenge of painting with mouse. Yeah, someone asked if it is possible to paint with mouse. We look for some answers. So here is the bonus part. I am going to demonstrate some 8K texture painting in Blender. Man, I don't even know why I did that. Maybe I wanted to see some clean brush strokes. Just don't try this. So this is some of my basic setup in texture painting. For the fall off, I prefer to use the circular curve. If your viewport is getting laggy, you can try the constant as well, so that Blender can handle it better that way. So you may ask why I am trying to get those clean brush marks with 8K maps instead of using 4K or something. That is because I just upscaled the original 2K maps to 8K. I didn't want to UV unwrap everything again. And for my basic viewport setup, I chose it to be flat while selecting the texture option. In that way, we can paint to our heart's content without getting influenced by any sort of lighting. So that's it for my basic setup. Now let's move on to my brush setups in Blender. So this is how I load my texture mask. They act as an stamp for my brush. And depending on your spacing, your brush might give you different results. And just switching to the constant option to get a faster viewport. Also, if you select the right option, the stamp will follow your path and it will follow the direction of your line. So keep that in mind. So that's it for my brush setups and my texture painting setup. Yes. So here is our last challenge, painting with mouse. Is it actually possible? So yes, I am trying my best to get a good result with mouse. Actually, I have experience of sculpting with mouse, but that was very long ago. It kind of feels unpleasant to do this with mouse, but I figured that it is not impossible at all. It just doesn't feel pleasant. But you know what? There are even mouse artists. I often see paintings done with MS Paint and mouse in my digital artist groups. They are mind-blowing. In fact, the beauty of painting lies in the proper distribution of values or your color harmony, etc. Even if your brushwork sucks, but you have great color sense or sense of values, you can create stunning artworks. So what I mean to say is, don't wait for your devices. If you wish to start painting, go for it. I mean, look at this, it doesn't look so bad at all. Does it? Believe me, I am doing it with my mouse. So here is the end result, where the right one is done with tablet and pressure sensitivity sometimes, and the left one is done entirely with mouse. Thanks a lot for staying with me till the end. If you have some questions, please let me know in the comment section. Also, check out the description, there are some useful links. Goodbye.